even start in Canada? You mentioned you was from New York and you ended up in Canada in '04. Tell me about the early grind, being out in Canada and starting this journey you have right now.
Yeah, so when I went to Canada, I was going to grad school upstate New York, coming from New York City by way of Rochester, and then ended up at Brockport University in Fredonia, which is kind of near Buffalo.
Yeah.
And then I ended up doing a graduate degree up at University of Toronto, which was only like 2.5 hours away from where I was going in upstate Buffalo. I ended up staying up there, 2 daughters. And I just started building my business and starting this program to help kids out in the community. And one thing led to another. Now we're able to help kids get a lot of scholarships and a bunch to be able to go pro. So that it was just a matter of me going up there for graduate school. And then I end up staying, and now I go back and forth,
No, that's dope to hear, in '04. As far as basketball within the Canadian community, it's grown a lot. We've seen a lot of guys, make an impact in D1 programs and make that leap to the NBA, be all-stars, have, contributing roles within NBA teams. As far as the basketball scene in Canada, like since you've been there, how much has it grown, and how exciting has it been to see that growth?
Yeah, I was fortunate enough to get there just as it was about to pop. There was a program called Grassroots Canada, and at that time they had one of the top teams in America in the world around the time Derrick Rose was playing, Eric Gordon. So they had Tristan Thompson, Corey Joseph, Mike Kabongo, a bunch of guys on the same team. And although there's been a lot of good players before that, this was a team in Toronto that put these guys on the same team and traveled the whole circuit. Yeah. Adidas, Nike, and they were Jordans and all these guys. And that team won a major tournament. I can't remember what year, maybe 2010, 11, I can't remember, but they won a major tournament in Las Vegas, beat all the teams from New York and LA, Chicago, and they put Canada on the map. After that, you got the Vince Carter effect with a lot of the kids playing basketball, a lot of immigrants coming, and it just started to pop. I came at the right time, being a little bit southwest of Toronto, and started to help in the community, and I contributed in my own way. But yeah, it's from now, as you see, it's outside of the US, obviously, I think it has the most guys in the NBA. I don't know if France is second, but for a small country, the 10th of the size of the US in population, to have the second most number of guys in the NBA, third, I don't know how many France has. It's come a long way, for sure.
Definitely for sure. And you mentioned Vince Carter. By the time I got familiar with basketball, Vince Carter was already in New Jersey doing this thing with Jason Kidd. But as far as Vince Carter, talk about his impact in that city and that country. And from the outside looking in, it seems like he's more of like the Michael Jordan of that country, and one of the more popular human beings over there, right?
Absolutely, 100% right. So it was the first time they had a star. Everybody looking at Michael Jordan, they looking at all these players they can touch. That's right there. That had that wow factor. And everybody, a lot of people coming from different, Caribbean, coming from African, European, a lot of people who were there in the country a long time didn't want to play hockey. They decided, this guy's inspiring. So just like Mike in Chicago, a lot of people started playing basketball even more. Kobe Bryant in LA, you just inspire people. So he was the Michael Jordan for that time, where people were just so enamored by his ability. It inspired kids to want to play. And, in the growth and the popularity of the sport begin to grow. And those kids are now kids who are, early 20s and teens, and you can see the effect.
I mean, Vince Carter, he was amazing in his prime. He came out the jump averaging like 20 something points, instant highlight reel. Like, it was pretty amazing time when he was, jumping onto the scene. 2019, the Raptors won a championship in Canada. That's the first time they have, experienced something like that. I think something that's very eminent when you're watching the playoffs is the crowd, the excitement for that team. They probably have one of the best fan bases. in all of basketball. You know, talk about 2019 and that championship run and how that affected the city in your perspective.
29, Vince Carter took A to J, but that championship with Kawhi Leonard took it from J to Z. So it blew the top off, and the fans got into it. Every city just wants a winner.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that weren't basketball fans, they were casual. But when you're winning, it gets people attention. People want to be part of what the sport is, right? I know people in New York City don't like hockey, but when the Rangers are doing well, everybody's like focusing because they want to be part of something. They want to be a part of a winner who's representing the city. And so when they did that, now you have, you know, talent, development, and interest coming out of the seams for trying to be part of basketball. So now it's just at a stage where it's got to be the most popular sport amongst, you know, youth coming up. You know, you have soccer and you have basketball. It used to just be hockey, and other sports. But being a very diverse country with a melting pot from people that are second generation, the parents come over for a better life, et cetera, refugees, different people coming over, they can afford, you know, a little more affordable than buying all equipment for hockey. And you can play all year round. Unlike soccer, you need a big field. Can't play indoors too much. So it just is the perfect storm, the perfect mix of, you know, a lot of immigrants mixed with people who've been there that can, you know, financially feasible way to play. And that 2019 pretty much cemented that basketball is Canada for sure.
I mean, I don't know if you was watching live when Kawhi hit that shot over Embiid in that corner, but you know, I was at work and I was watching the game live, and the reaction was just like, wow, like that's probably the greatest shot of all time, in my opinion. It has to be.
Canada definitely was. And when you got a whole country behind you, it's different than just having a state or a city. You know, you got two teams in New York City area and they can be divided, even though Knicks is number one because, you know, the Knicks been around. But when you got a whole country behind you, you know, that machine began to pick up some steam. So that shot was the one of the biggest shot that I can think of in Canadian sports. You know, biggest goal, biggest point, whatever it's going to be across the sport. And you're right, it made my job a lot. It's making my job a lot easier in terms of trying to, you know, open up pathways for kids. Even though I'm going to be retiring soon, I'm passing that some alumni, you know, and doing some other stuff and, you know, marketing, finance, real estate. But I have so many alumni that they're ready to take over. So I'll be guiding them through.
Were you surprised when he left, you know, having Canada as the whole country behind you? He just won the championship. Were you surprised that he ended up leaving? That team is still stacked to this day. They, you know, they're missing one more guy. You know, were you surprised at all?
I wasn't surprised because he had already won championships with San Antonio. He only knew a great organization. To him, he helped this city, but he was pretty much traded there. Remember, he had the injury thing; they didn't play, so he was traded there. So it was a loan. He didn't choose to go there for the most part. I mean, he could have vetoed, I guess, but him going back to where he's from in LA, you know, that makes more sense. I think if you accomplish something, you go out on a high. It was disappointing, but it definitely wasn't surprising given his history and kind of he goes by the beat of his own drum.
Nah, yeah. Kawhi is one of those guys. He's gonna do what he wants to do. So, you know, I still think he's like a top 5 talent in the league. And once that situation gets healthy, we'll see what he does next year. You know, let's switch gears.